Hey procrastinators, today I'm back with a monthly collab that I do with Renee from Delaney Jane Cards, and we are doing a foiling technique collaboration this month. So I will be showing you 6 techniques with foiling with and without a machine, and she will be showing you 6 techniques of foiling. So I'm starting off with foiling with tear tape or score tape, whatever you want to call it. So I started with laying out some pieces of 1/8 inch score tape, and then I tried to space them as evenly as possible, and then I laid out some pieces of 1/4 inch score tape and laid those out in between each of my 1/8 inch score tape pieces. So now I'm just cutting off the excess, and you probably saw me burnish them down real good with my bone folder. I like to do that when I lay my score tape down. It makes the backing paper come off easier. And then I cut the excess off with my tonic nonstick scissors. Now I'm just removing the 1/8 inch pieces, and I'm going to grab myself some amber watercolor foil from DecoFoil. Then I'm going to burnish that down real well on top of the score tape with my bone folder, and then we will reveal it to show the kind of gold toned foil that it leaves on my paper. And this was a paper from the Paper Studio. I got it on clearance at Hobby Lobby. It was called Harper's Boutique, and it came in a 4.5 by 6.5 inch paper pack. And I just liked the striped pattern on it. I thought it would go good with some striped foil decoration. So now I'm grabbing a emerald, I believe it is. Yes, emerald watercolor foil from DecoFoil, and we're just going to burnish this on here. And the reason why I left this in, even though it was pretty much the same as the 1/8 inch, is because when I laid it down, I didn't lay it down completely flat, and I got some ripples in the foil, which caused it not to completely foil. But that's not really an issue with this, because where it didn't foil, the score tape was still sticky. So you just lay it down and you burnish it down again. And you just keep doing that until you completely cover the score tape. It's no big deal. So as you can see, it foiled just fine. Now we're going to move on to doing the sentiments. And I'm going to heat emboss the sentiment. I'm using a Tonic Craft kit here. And this is from Tonic Craft kit number 19. And so I'm going to stamp the In Yourself stamp in some Ranger Gold embossing powder. We're going to heat set that off screen, and then it's got a matching die that I'm going to cut it out with. And then off screen I cut a 2-piece. It's kind of got a I don't know if it's really necessarily a shadow layer or not. It's just a 2-piece set here. As you can see, it says Believe. And I cut that out with a green mirror cardstock and a gold foiled cardstock. I want to say that the green mirror cardstock is from Tonic, but I'm not entirely sure on that, so that's why I didn't put it in the video, because I can't really remember. The gold is just something I've had in my stash for a really long time, so I have no idea what the brand is on that. And so I just glued the In Yourself down flat, and then I popped up the Believe. And then for the inside of the card, I kept the extra that I cut off from the 4.5 by 6.5 inch piece of paper that pattern paper that we foiled. I kept that little extra piece that I cut off, and I'm just going to glue it into the side here. And then we're going to finish off the inside of the card with a sentiment from the Alta New Lace Up stamp set that says, "You were made of awesome," if I remember correctly. Yes, that is what it says. And we're just stamping that down in Memento Tuxedo black ink. And I just stamped it down twice to make sure that I got a good, nice black impression. And it is a little crooked, but you know, this is handmade, not Hallmark. So look at that nice shiny foil. I think it looks great with the stripes, to add some colored stripes with it, with the black and white stripes. And there are some finished project photos for you, the outside and the inside. And then we're going to move on to DecoFoil toner sheets. So I have ones that have adhesive on the back. I do believe that they have ones that don't have adhesive. I'm not entirely sure on that though. But I cut mine with the Birch Press Designs Kaolin Layers die set, and it's got 3 dies. And as I'm showing here, I took the C and the A of the little ones and I swapped them out. So all 3 of my layers weren't exactly the same. The thickest one on the bottom layer is going to match with the thinnest one on the top layer, or the middle layer, however you want to say that. I hope that makes sense. So it's going to go, the middle layers are going to match with the foil, but the top and the they're going to be switched. You'll see. Anyway, I can't talk correctly apparently. Words are hard. So I'm not going to show the foiling for all of these. I'm just going to show you what they look like in the end here. But as you can see, you just put the foil on top of the toner sheets, and then run them through your laminator. And I just use a piece of typing paper for my little cover sheet or my sandwich, whatever you want to call it. So here's the silver. And the first one was the Summer Sunset, I think. Summer Rainbow. And the last one is going to be Amethyst Watercolor. Though you don't really see the watercolor on this so much. It didn't show up very good on the camera for some reason. It's a lot like those first ones that I showed you that were watercolors. So now I'm just removing the release paper from the back, and I'm going to stack up my dies. So as you see on this one, the Summer Rainbow is on the bottom, and on the smaller dies that go in the middle, the Summer Rainbow will be on the top. That is what I was trying to say earlier, and it probably didn't make any sense at all. But that's what I was trying to say. So they're just going to be flip-flopped. I just wanted it to be a little bit different to add some interest. So I'm just going to stack these up, and then I'm not going to show you the stacking up for the middle pieces because it's the same with these Birch Press dies. The thickest one goes on the bottom, and then you go to the middle, and then the thinnest one will be on top. So there's the shine on that one. And for some reason, my lighting wasn't terribly good. I think I just held it up above where my lights were shining, is all. So there's the smaller ones that go in the middle. And again, like I said, it's just flip-flopped on the foil. And then we're going to move on to the inside of the card. And I used a Hero Arts Ombre ink pad that's Butter Bar to Orange. So it's just got like some orangey yellow colors, basically. And I kind of picked that because the Summer Rainbow, I cannot remember that one the Summer Rainbow, kind of had some orangey pinks and yellows in it. So I just thought that would kind of match with what I had going on with the front. So I took a piece of black pearlescent card from Tonic. I did not write that down, what that was. But it was just a kind of black pearlescent card, and I ran it through an embossing folder from the Paper Studio called Intricate Swirls Embossing Folder, and then put my die cuts on the top, and I popped that middle one up on itty bitty teeny tiny pieces of foam slivers that I cut, and then I used the Hollow Waves Tonic paper to cut that hello out, and the hello is from, I did not write that down. I'm sorry. I will have to find that out and pop it up on the screen as an afterthought. And then I just thought some orange and pink Nuvo drops would finish the card off nicely. And there's a look at the final card and on the inside with that ombre ink pad. And my final pictures. And then we will be moving on to foiling with a two-way glue pen. And my preference is to use the Zig two-way glue pens, but you can use any two-way glue pen you want as long as when it dries tacky. And I made 2 cards with this method, as you can see here. So these are backgrounds that I just had in my stash. If I don't get a chance to make a card out of a background, if I just have a background making session, I just stick them in a box and use them for later. So these are the backgrounds that I chose from my background box. This one is from an alcohol ink lift. So this is the lifted image that I put on cardstock. So I'm just going in with my 2A glue pen and just kind of filling in some of the design, and just kind of where I think that it could use a little shine. And then this is an alcohol ink design that I lifted from. So this is on Yupo paper, so you can foil on Yupo paper. Well, I guess we know that already because people stick foil on Yupo paper or on the alcohol ink when it's wet. But this is completely dry. There are no tacky spots on it, and I'm just adding the 2A glue pen to it to add some interest to the little swirls. So now I'm taking the Spellbinders Glimmer Foil, and it doesn't matter what kind of foil you use. You can use the toner activated foil or the heat activated foil. The Glimmer Foil is a heat activated foil. I use this with my We Are Memory Keepers foil quill usually. So that's what this had been previously used on, and this is just a scrap piece that I'm using. So the glue has dried at this point in time, and now I'm just using my bone folder to go over the design and just kind of push it down into the dried glue, but it is tacky, so it is dry. So this particular glue goes on blue, and once it has dried, it is clear. So there is the final design that I have foiled on my card now, or my card panel. And then we're going to do the same thing with the red one, and I picked a kind of a gold holographic one. It's called Aura, and there's the design on that one. I didn't go through the whole process there because you've already seen it once. And now I'm going to finish up the cards, and so I used a holographic poster board behind this one. You can see it on the edges there, and that is from the Dollar Tree. I'm not sure if you can still get that, but it was cheap and it was pretty, so I decided to mat it on this card to bring a little more interest. Now I'm just heat embossing Just Because on the front of this card, and that is from an Altenew set called Under the Cherry Blossom Tree, I believe. Yes. And I kind of wish I would have done this in gold instead of silver, but I was trying to bring in the silver from the mat behind the card. But I don't know. I wasn't completely happy with that card, but I decided to include it anyway, just so you could see that it doesn't really matter what surface that you use the 2A glue on. It seems to work on, plastic or paper, because Yupo paper basically is plastic. So now I'm finishing the inside of that red card, and I decided that I wanted to use the same type of swirls that I had used for the alcohol ink lift process. So I grabbed that stamp set out that I had used for that, and I am doing a second generation stamping on the inside of this. That way I can still write over it and it can still be read easily. So I'm using a Nuvo hybrid ink in Poppy Red for that. And I'm just stamping off on a scratch piece of paper before I stamp on my card base. So it's a nice light red color and can still be red, but still be red if I write on top of it. And but I still have that tied in with the front of the design of the card. And then the I Care comes from the Under the Cherry Blossom tree set too, that I used with the front sentiment. So there is the finished card, and it's not a bad card. It's not one of my favorites. I mean, it turned out all right. I don't know. What do you guys think? I think I could have done something different that would have made me happier, but it wasn't bad. All right, now we're going to move on to that blue card and finish that one up. And I am using Versamark to stamp the sentiment, Sending Hugs, I believe is what I chose for this one. And that one came from the Concord and 9th Retro Petals Turnabout stamp set. And then I'm just going to pop up my front panel here, and the blue or the blue foiled cardstock, mirror cardstock, that's what I meant. Mirrored cardstock comes from Tonic. I'd have to look up the name on that one. I'll try to remember to pop that one up too on the screen after the fact. There's a couple things I apparently missed here, but that one is a tonic cardstock. I just can't remember the name of it. And then this Happy Thoughts comes from the retro petals as well from Concord and Ninth. And I thought I could jazz it up a little bit here by just adding some little dots with my Zig 2-way glue pen, and then I'm going to foil over that as well, just to add a little more interest to the inside of the card. So then we just go over with the bone folder, just like we did with the outside of the cards. And then when I pull it up, you see I have a big old smear right at the bottom right of that sentiment. But we're going to fix that. It's not a big deal. So when you are using the 2-way adhesives, you need to make sure that they dry so you don't get that big smear. And 2, make sure that you rub your hand over it too to make sure that you get everything. As you can see, I went in for a second try because there was a little bit of sticky on the card. Nobody wants a sticky card. But as you can see here, that I am fixing that big old smear with my Tombow Mono sand eraser. That wasn't a big deal. It came right off. No damage to the card. All right, now we're going to glue this down with my Nuvo Deluxe adhesive to the card front. And we'll be finishing up this card after we get the sentiment on. And I cut that sentiment out with the MFT slanted sentiment dies. And I used that several times on these cards. And that's another thing I forgot to put in my little captions. There were so many products in this video that I missed quite a few of them. But I'll try to get those in the captions. And if I don't, I will definitely add them to my supply list on my blog. And you can always find my blog link in the description box below the video. So here's some pictures of the finished cards. And I really liked the little dots on the inside of my card. I'd love to hear what you guys think about that. I try new things on the insides of my cards a lot. Just try to bring interest into it. And I know a lot of people say they like that I finish my cards. And I've said this before, I do it not only to bring some interest to the inside of my cards and make them fun, but I also do it because I am terrible at writing on the insides of my cards. So it distracts from all that white space that could be on the inside of your card if you do not decorate. So if you have trouble writing on the inside of your cards, I suggest you finish them. All right, so now we're moving on to the laser printer method. And I got this a long time ago as a freebie from Creative Fabrica. I downloaded a lot of SVGs and ping files and stuff like that for free, so I have quite a resource. I do not believe this one is available anymore. I will check. If it is, I will link it in my blog post. But anyway, I printed this off on my laser printer that I got for Christmas. I've been having fun with that. And now I'm using the rainbow foil from DecoFoil, and I'm running it through my laminator. By the way, my laminator is not this fast. I sped that up for you guys. You do not have to sit there and wait forever like I did. And then this came off real nice. It did get a little wrinkle in my foil, so there is a slight imperfection, but it wasn't that noticeable. So I left it. Like I said, handmade, not Hallmark. If people are going to start picking apart my handmade cards, then they don't deserve them. So I used that Dollar Tree holographic poster board again because I thought it was fun and shiny and kind of reminded me of the foiling process actually. So I thought it went real well with these cards. And then I am using an oldie but a goodie here. I'm using the Stampin' Up! Sincere Salutations stamp set. I really like this this font for this Thinking of You. And I thought it would be fun to stamp it in the Kaleidacolor Spectrum Rainbow stamp or ink pad. As you can see, I showed that it went, when you go to use it, you snap the little pads together, and then when you're done with them, you snap them apart so they do not bleed together. I had used that in a previous video a while back, and somebody said that they were not familiar with that pad and did not understand what I meant when I said that you move them apart and put them back together. If you did not catch that, we will be using it again in another card later in the video, and I will show that again. So I am using the Tonic Craft Kit number 22, All My Love die, and it comes with the with the letters and a shadow. So I used a vellum shadow on this one, and I really like how it kind of just like highlighted the foil. It kind of almost made it like glow in a rainbow. You see that? I thought that was really cool. So I am now covering it with a Nuvo glitter pen, and that finishes off that card. But see how that glows around the letters? I don't know. I thought it was cool. Maybe it's just me. So that's the finishing off of that card, and see that rainbow stamping, so fun. And there's the finished pictures, so you can see that glow again. I don't know, I was mesmerized by that. Anyways, so now we're going to talk about the We Are Memory Keepers foil quill. And the foil quill is near and dear to my heart because it was some of the first videos that I did. So we are in Cricut Design Space, and I'm going to show you how I foil with my We Are Memory Keepers foil quill, or at least one way to do it. So I have purchased this design from Craft Genesis, and I have sized it to the size that I would like to foil. I have this rectangle on my mat that is the size of a card front. It's 4 1/4 by 5 1/2. I'm going to select both of them, and I am going to center my design. And then I'm going to come down here and I'm going to click attach. And then I'm going to come over here and I'm going to select draw, because the way that you need to foil, you need to make your design a drawing design. And this is a drawing file, or what's called a single line design, or a single line vector that I purchased. So this is specifically made for drawing or foiling designs. Now I already have a piece of paper cut to the size that I want it, 4 1/4 by 5 1/2. So I do not want my machine to cut this rectangle. I'm only using this rectangle for centering purposes. So I'm going to come over here and I'm going to select SCOR. And the reason why I'm doing this, again, is because I want it to be centered, but I'm also going to use my DIY metal mat that I created for foiling. So my paper is going to be held down by magnets versus, well, my paper and my foil is going to be held down by magnets versus taping the foil down with the washi tape and having the sticky mat hold down my paper. So I do not want the machine to cut at all, because you do not want to cut on top of that metal surface. So now we're going to click Make It, and automatically Design Space is going to put your design up in the top corner here. And we do not want that. We want it to be in the bottom. And I always put it at least 1 inch away from the sides. And in order to make sure that my design is going to be perfect, I want it to be on this corner here. So I know that my design is going to be perfectly centered, because I know that I want to put it at 11 and 11 right there. So that's where I want to put my paper when I put it on the mat. So now we're going to go over to the machine and we're going to set up the mat for foiling. So this is my DIY magnetic mat for my foil quill that I made myself. I do have a video on this. I will link it up in the iCards if I remember. I'm just going to put the foil on here and get it down as flat and taut as possible. These are little strips of magnetic sheet that's got adhesive back on it. That's what the white part is that's facing up, as the backing sheet for the adhesive. You do not have to have adhesive backed ones. This is just what I had from leftover scraps from making magnetic sheets for my dies. And now we are at the machine, and you want to use the C adapter if you have a Cricut. That is what I'm showing here as the C adapter, but other adapters come for other machines, so use the one that is proper for your machine. That is the little metal piece that goes underneath the hot part of the foil quill when you are warming it up for use. I keep a binder clip for my foil quill, and I stick it on the top of my machine and run my cord through it. This way it does not get caught in the rollers while the machine is foiling. I am just putting that out of the way for at the moment, because remember, I set it up to SCOR first. And I realized I forgot before I went to do this that I needed to move the star wheels out of the way. The reason why I am moving the star wheels out of the way is because as the machine foils, those star wheels go over the foil and it embeds the foil into my cardstock. I do not like this. Make sure that you turn your machine off before you move the carriage over and move the star wheels. That is important. Do not ever move the carriage when the machine is on. Okay, so I did that really quick. So what I was doing right there was I was letting the machine fake SCOR, because remember I set up that SCOR line. So I stopped it right before it started the quilling part. And now I put the quill in and then I hit cut. So now it is starting the foiling process. And it will be doing this for a while. I did not leave all the footage in for that. However, I will leave a little bit of that in so that you can see it, just in case you haven't seen it before. And I will zoom in here, well, I guess right now, so that you can see a little bit better. So if you haven't seen the collabs that Renee and I do, this is some of our favorite videos that we do every month. I know that she's said it and I have said it. These are our favorite videos and some of our viewers' favorite videos that we do every month. Oh, I guess I'm done. That's all I left in. So here's the reveal. And I have to say, this is my favorite card out of all the cards that I did. I just think it turned out so pretty. I love this file. I will probably be buying more files from the company that I bought this from. Which one was, what was this company? This was Craft Genesis. So if you're looking for foil quill or single line images, Craft Genesis has some really good ones. All right, so I stamped my sentiment and I am foiling it. I'm not foiling it, I'm heat embossing it. Oh geez. In my favorite copper blush embossing powder. And then we're going to stamp the sentiment in Versamark and emboss it in the same embossing powder. Then I took that that Nuvo Hybrid Poppy Red and stamped some little hearts from the same stamp set. I believe that was My Favorite Things Birthday Wishes, or Big Birthday Wishes. And I just gave a little pop of red on each side of the sentiment. I thought that was nice. And then we're going to attach that to the front of my card. I don't believe that I mentioned this when we started this card, but I did color this with my Inktense pencils, by the way. And I actually didn't think about coloring this when I first started this image, so I actually did this on regular cardstock and managed to not mess it up. So that's the end of this card, and I think it turned out pretty nice. Now we're going to use the negative foil pieces that I used on some of the cards. So this is the heart piece that we used a card or two ago. And then we're going to use that negative rose one too. So this is just showing that you can use either type of foil. So this, I ran some pieces through my Xyron. Actually, I just had these sitting around. I have a 9-inch Creative Station. It's a pretty old one. And so when I don't have enough to run through it, instead of wasting pieces, I just grab a card front size piece and run it through with my smaller pieces. So then I have these laying around when I need them. It works out pretty handy. So I'm just starting at one end and slowly and carefully flattening it across to the other side with my bone folder. And so this one is with the DecoFoil, so with one that's transferred with toner. And then the other one was from the We Are Memory Keepers foil quill, and it's We Are Memory Keepers foil. So this could be used with, like I said, with either type of foil. And then for whatever reason, usually when I do this, that clear layer over the foil doesn't usually come loose, but it did with this one. So I was like, well, I guess I'm pulling it off, and I really wouldn't suggest that. by the way, because when I pulled this off, that the white part of the heart was still sticky. Plus, it kind of peeled my cardstock, as I'm going to show you right here. So it peeled my cardstock up, and I was like, well, crap, now what do? I'm not throwing this away. So I just took my Zig 2-way glue pen, and I'm going to show you here in a minute, and I just glued those little pieces of cardstock down so it wasn't noticeable. And then to combat the sticky part, because as I've said before, nobody wants a sticky card, I just took my anti-static powder tool and liberally applied it all over that heart so it wasn't sticky anymore. And then I took my tea towel and wiped off the excess powder so it wasn't all powdery. So that fixed that, and then I'm going to trim down the card so it doesn't have the white on the edges and is more even and not crooked, because one side's longer, you know, it's not, the heart isn't centered. So here's that kaleidoscope, or Kaleidocolor, not kaleidoscope, Kaleidocolor ink pad again, and you see that I, again, pulled it apart and then pushed it together, and, or, well, actually pushed it apart and then pulled it up. Pushed it together and then pulled it apart. Oh my god, words are so hard. So, and then I'm using that All My Love die again from the Tonic Craft Kit. And we're going to put that over it again, just like I did on the other card. I still haven't cut down my card panel yet, so don't worry, it will be nicer looking. But one thing I do notice with using the negative, you can get a rougher, more like mixed media, I guess, look, or distressed look. I guess distressed is the word I'm really looking for, I guess. Oh no, I did cut my, I lie, I did cut it down. I just matted it on black and put it on my white card base. That's why that extra white's there. I totally lie to you guys all the time. I don't know why you watch me, because I am such a liar. Anyway, now we're going to move on to the sentiment for the other card, and this is the Sending Hugs from the yeah, I used it earlier and I don't remember. This was from the Retro Petals from Concord and Ninth. So I brought out that the Paper Studio pack again that I used earlier, the Harper's Boutique. And I picked a dotted pattern this time, and I thought it would be fun to kind of offset it with my card front, so you just see a little bit of the dots poking out, and I really liked that. But I wanted my sentiment to be straight, because I thought it would be funny at an angle. I don't know why, but I wanted my sentiment straight and my card panel crooked. Don't ask me, but I thought it looked good anyway. So I'm using the Happy Thoughts from the Retro Petals again, and I'm stamping that in Memento Tuxedo Black ink. And then I'm going to take, oh, I didn't do it yet, or maybe I didn't even do it in the video, but I did take a piece of that dotted pattern and I put it inside my card. So then I'm carefully and meticulously wanting to get this lined up so the corners touch every one on each side of my card, but touch a piece of the edge of my card base. Again, words are hard. Anyway, I wanted the corners to touch the edges of the card base, but I still wanted slivers of that dotted pattern to be visible. And yeah, so it took me longer than I showed in the video. It took an obscene amount of time for me to get that lined up exactly how I wanted it. Anyways, I hope that you enjoyed the cards today, and please don't forget to check out Renee's video over at Delaney Jane Cards. I'll have the link to her video in my description box below. And as always, have a great day.